Welcome everyone to Atlanta area Google Hangouts. Today we're going to be getting to know John Miles, the distinguished lawyer here in Suwanee, Georgia, who has some really interesting background history that I can't wait to share with you guys today. He unbelievably is more educated than any other lawyer I could ever meet before or ever have known. So thank you for joining us today, John. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started in the law business.
Well, my background is that I started out my professional career as an architect and not as a lawyer. I went to college and got a degree in architecture and then sat for the architectural exam and passed it. But as I got out of college and started working, I learned that most of the people in the construction industry were very litigious. Back then I called it sue happy, but litigious is the big word for it. And I thought that if I was going to be practicing architecture, I would have to either have a fairly good working knowledge of the law or have an attorney where I could pick up the phone and call him 3, 4, 5 times a day and ask him, should I do this, should I do that? So I did some investigation and decided that it was probably a good idea to become knowledgeable in the law. So I went to law school and then passed the bar exam. So I now have certifications as both an architect and an attorney.
Well, tell me how that has really helped your practice over the years, having the knowledge of both. How have you been able to help people?
Well, I have a lot of clients who are in the construction industry. I have contractors, engineers, architects, suppliers, and they are my clients, and I bring my knowledge of the construction industry along with me. There's an additional advantage in that the law is a very one thing follows the other, or if you prefer, a left brain activity.
Right.
The architecture is more of an art, and it is a right brain activity. So having both of these trainings, I have the both sides of the coin, looking at precedent, and one thing follows another from the legal perspective, but then sometimes a more whimsical approach to finding a solution from my architectural training that gives me a lot of times more ability to think outside the box than you find in a lot of lawyers who just go right down the line to get to the answer.
Right. So your expertise is really helping engineers, architectures, and construction people because you understand both aspects of the business.
That is correct. But outside of that area, I bring the ability to think outside the box.
Right. Well, that's awesome. Well, one thing that I really like about you, John, is you have such a great personality, and I always feel so warm when I'm around you, and I love speaking to you. Do you have any great stories about some of your clients or some of the things, experiences that you've done in your 20 years of practice?
More than that.
Oh, okay.
I have got a whole lot of stories. Unfortunately, I can't share a lot of them with you because of client confidentiality.
Right.
But so, there's been things that have happened that have been, interesting, and some of them have been funny. But here again, the confidentiality sort of precludes me from sharing them.
Right. Well, how about you tell us a little bit about some of the things that's really helped you stand out with some of the things that you've been doing, some of your practice with your practice?
Over the years, I have been a solo practitioner. I've not had a partner. I did share space with another lawyer for a while, but he went off and formed another partnership. Part of the reason for that is that when I started, there were no law firms who at that point in time were really particularly interested in, they didn't see the value in my dual accreditation. I didn't want to give up that. Architectural firms didn't really want to have a lawyer on staff. They wanted to have an architect on staff. So my choice was to open my own shop, which I did. And I've been a solo practitioner the whole time. What that means is that when you come in and you hire me, you get me. I am the one who's working on your project. I am the one who's doing your work for you. I'm not turning you over to a first-year associate to have them do it. I'm actually doing the work for you. So, it's sort of what you see is what you get.
You're a full-service package, right?
There's when you take the bar exam, there are 27 areas of the law that are open game for them to test on. And if you look in the Atlanta phone directory, I think the last time I looked, there were 127 different classifications of lawyers, which means you don't really, you're speaking two languages when you say, what kind of law do you practice? I cannot stay current and competent in all of the 27 or 127 areas of the law. I have got a lot of areas where my practice is focused, and those are the areas where I have the most expertise. I have a circle of lawyer friends and acquaintances who I know do other things that I don't do, and I don't feel at all bad about referring work to them.
Right. So your clients really appeal to the fact of your expertise in the construction business.
Not so much in the construction business as in business in general. My clients consist of businesses, small businesses, corporations, and we put their corporation together, set their business up for them, keep an eye on them so that they maintain their corporate protection and don't lose it by failing to jump through some of the hoops that the government puts out there. We also work with our clients a lot in the area of estate planning. What people don't realize is that your business plan and your estate plan are in reality opposite sides of the same coin.
Really?
It does no good to have a marvelous business plan if you've got a lousy estate plan. And it does not a whole lot of good to have a great estate plan if you've got a lousy business plan, because what happens is you end up with a deceased partner, and then your new partner is the deceased partner's widow or the deceased partner's children, who have got A, no interest in the business, B, no expertise in the business, and C, a great desire to take all the money out of the business and use it for whatever they want. So it is important that when several people get together to form a business, that in forming their business, they have their estate plan in order too, and that it is all integrated so that when one of the business partners dies or gets divorced, that it is not catastrophic for the business.
Right. So when your clients come in, what's the first thing they would expect when somebody comes in here to meet you, John?
Well, they get to meet me. We don't have intake clerks. I'm the one who does the intake interview, and they get to meet me at their initial meeting. There's not a bunch of barriers to get through, a bunch of hurdles to jump over. I am there. I am accessible to them. When they call, they get to speak to me. They very seldom get shuffled off and filtered out by some officious front office personnel who thinks I shouldn't be bothered. We're here for our clients, and we give them their answers as best we can.
So you're always available, and that to the ability that you can take care of them. You're more of a one-on-one, personable lawyer.
That is correct.
Okay, well, that's awesome. So do you have a few tips that you could give some of our viewers today about things that they could do if they were hiring you or looking for someone to help them set up their business the appropriate way, John?
Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to know what it is you want to accomplish. Probably in a lot of instances, the hardest thing the lawyer has to do is to discover what it is that the client, or in the case of litigation, what it is that the other side really wants to accomplish.
Right.
A lot of times people come in and they say they want to do A, whatever A might be, and you put your entire plan of operation together to try to accomplish A, when in fact A isn't really their bottom line. B is their bottom line, but they haven't told you what B is. For example, I had nothing to do with this, but it's a good example. In Snellville, there was a man who had a large piece of property with a large field of grass on it. And Walmart wanted to buy that property to build a Walmart store.
Well, that sounds like a nice, lucrative deal.
Right. Now, the Walmart real estate representatives came out and talked to the man, and he said he wasn't going to sell. And they worked on him for over a year trying to get him to sell the property. And he kept saying he wasn't going to sell the property. Well, one afternoon, Sam Walton came out and talked to him. And Mr. Walton talked to him, and they talked for about an hour. And when it was over, they had a deal. Because it turned out that what the man wanted was another big old grassy field. And Mr. Walton worked out a deal to where he found the man an appropriate and acceptable piece of property and worked out a trade as part of the consideration.
Wow.
And the purchase price ended up being, I have heard that the purchase price was less than what had been originally offered, because the man's real agenda was to get a substitute piece of property more than just get the money.
Wow. So in a lot of ways, it sounds like you're almost a consultant in a lot of ways, trying to figure out exactly what people's needs are.
Well, yes, and it's like being a mediator. And in a mediation, you bring the people together somewhere other than where they think they want to be. When you start a mediation, each person has their agenda. It's like a boxing ring, and you got each person in the opposite corners of the boxing ring. And you think at the beginning that the idea is to get them to meet in the center of the ring.
Right.
And that might be the ideal at the beginning. But when it gets done and you find out everybody's agenda, they might meet in one of the other corners. But the idea is to get them to meet somewhere where they can both be, I say, equally upset.
Wow. So it sounds like, so your first tip would be is to, one, have a strategy and know exactly what you want to do?
The thing is, when you come to the lawyer's office, know what it is you want, and then be open. Don't hide things from the lawyer. The lawyers are really not expensive if you hire them early enough, if you hire them often enough, and if you tell them everything they need to know. Not everything you think they need to know, but actually everything they need to know. And you don't have to worry about them telling tales out of school, because they can't do that. So you come in, you be open, and let them know what your agenda is and where you want to go. And that's the best advice I can give.
Well, that sounds like a really, as I expect you to say today, because you're such a warm and welcome guy, that sounds like it'd be right down your alley. So tell me, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, John, what's the best way? You want to give us your telephone number and your website?
Well, the telephone number is 770-972-5650. It's been our telephone number for over 35 years. We've moved around the county, but we've kept the old telephone number. And we've gotten telephone calls from people that says, I saw you'd moved and I didn't know if this number would be any good, but I thought I'd try it, and I was surprised to get you. We have a website, and the website is very difficult to remember. The website where I can remember it, it's www.johnmiles.com. And if you go to the website and go to the last page, you can, under Contact Us, you can get driving directions, turn by turn from... It's either MapQuest, I think it's MapQuest or Google.
Yeah.
But it's a nice thing. An important thing that people need to remember is that, like they say all over the world, the only stupid questions are the ones you don't ask. You can ask me two questions, basically. You can come to me and you can say, should I do this? Or you can come to me and you can say, I did this and the roof has fallen in. What can I do now?
It's like Chicken Little, right?
It is a whole lot cheaper for me to tell you whether or not you should do this than it is for me to help get you out of the briar patch, so to speak.
Later on, right?
So, should I run through the briar patch or get me out of the briar patch? It's a whole lot easier for me to help you get out of the briar patch. Benjamin Franklin, in Poor Richard's Almanac, said that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And there's probably nowhere that's truer than when it comes to hiring a lawyer.
Well, awesome, John. Well, again, if everybody This is the man you need to look at when you want to really make sure that you have a great business idea and you want to bring a partner in or plan for your future business. You definitely want to get a hold of John. And again, John, your telephone number?
770-972-5650.
And his website is www.johnmiles.com, where you could also contact him on his contact page. Thank you again, John, for being with us today on our Google Hangout and giving back to this community of Atlanta and Suwanee and, being a long-term supporter. We really appreciate you putting out these great ideas into the community and letting people know it. And again, thanks again, everybody, for joining us on Google Hangouts today. Thanks a lot.